This training session will be recorded and made available to staff and to students, and your comments or questions, both verbal or text-based, and your likenesses, if using a webcam, may be included as part of that recording. So good afternoon, everyone. My name's Chris Carter. I'm one of the digital skills developers here at Cardiff Met, and we offer digital skills training to staff and to students. And today is the daily digital micro webinar that we hold at noon every Friday. And today's session is about protecting your Excel workbooks. So the format of the webinars is usually just a short sort of 15-minute or so little demonstration of a hint or a tip, and then there'll be options available then for you guys to have any questions answered at the end of that there. As I mentioned before I started recording, I have muted you guys' microphones and webcams at the moment, but I will open those again at the end. So to begin with, we're just going to have a quick look at what sort of security options you've got available to you within Excel. So there's a couple of things you can do at quite a lower level, just sort of protecting certain items, right the way up to protecting entire worksheets and entire files. So we'll go through these and see what kind of stuff you've got available. So I've got an example document here. Let me open that up. Okay, so we've got an example Excel document. This is from one of our this is from one of our Microsoft Office Specialist courses. So one of the example sheets we use there, and this is a nice way of showing you guys exactly what kind of things we can do. So at a very basic level, you've got the option of to try and protect your worksheet rather than just outright protecting it. If we start small, under your File menu, you've got the Info option just here on the sidebar. So one of the first things you can do, just to kind of, well, offer some limited protection to your sheet, is that under the Info options, you've got this Protect Workbook button. And under here, we've got, right at the very bottom, Mark as Final. So this is a very quick way of just telling your other users who are going to use the worksheet that this document is like a finalized document and shouldn't be messed about with. So if you were to do that, you get a little warning that says the workbook will be marked as final. And once that's been done, the workbook itself changes ever so slightly, and you get this little warning at the top. Excuse me. So you can see here we've now got this little warning that says this document's been marked as final, and an author has marked the workbook as final to discourage editing. Somewhat redundantly, though, you do get the option to edit anyway. So this is a nice way of flagging up to users that they shouldn't be messing with a particular document, but it doesn't outright stop them because they can at least click edit anyway, and they can start messing about with it same as usual. So that's not like ideal, but it can be useful. Similar to that, again, under the File menu, in the Info options under Protect Worksheet, the top option is Always Open as Read Only. So this is another way, essentially very similar to the Mark as Final option. If we click on this one, then whenever that document is reopened, so if I save this document now, and if I close that document down, but then reopen it, it should give us a little warning. There we go. The author would like you to open this document as read only unless you need to make changes. So then you specify, if you click on open as read only, then yeah, you can just click on yes, and they can't do anything to it. It's only read only, they can't change anything. Oh, well, I can, obviously, I'm the document owner. But normally that would pop open as read only, and then they're limited from making specific changes. And if they do make any changes, then they've got to do like a save as or save a copy, because then they obviously can't change the original. So those are some very quick things you can do to try and minimize people making changes, but people can still make changes. So the next thing we can do is try and specify exactly what kind of changes people can make and kind of limit how they can make these changes. So a good way of doing this is in the Review tab, so we got up here in the top here, we've got the Review tab. If I click on that, we've got a Protect area here. And one handy item we've got here is the Allow Edit Ranges button. So this way, this lets you set up password protection on specific ranges and only allow certain people to edit them. So if I click on Allow Edit Ranges, we'll pop up on a new window. And in this window, we can now specify however many ranges we need. You can have more than one. And you can specify what kind of permissions those ranges will have. So for example, here, if I click on New, let's start a new range. You can title the different ranges. So in this case, say I only wanted people to mess about with the module titles, for example. I could call this range module titles. Then it asks you to specify what cells that refers to. So in this case, we'll put this for all the module title cells. And then once we specified the ranges, you then got to set a password for them. Now, whenever you set a password in Excel, it's not the kind of thing that will be stored anywhere specifically afterward. So if you forget the password, it's gone. That sheet is going to be, not going to be accessible. And there's no point calling IT. IT won't know the password and can't get it back for you. There's no point calling Microsoft. They can't get the password back for you either. So if you are setting passwords on your Excel, you need to be sure that you remember those passwords and that you've got it maybe noted down somewhere separately for security purposes. But in this case, I'm just going to put a very basic password in place. Click OK. Asks you to reconfirm the password. And then you can see we've now got that ranges in here. So if I then click OK, and then protect the sheet, so this is the Protect button up here. Put a password in to protect that. Re-enter the password to confirm it. So now we've got the sheet is protected. So if somebody was to come into this and start to try to change, say, the language, they get a warning that says it can't be done. If they want to change the module code, they get another warning, can't happen. But if they click on the module title, in this instance, I can start typing in the password. And now I can actually edit that particular bit of text. Still can't edit anything else. So I can click on here and you can see these are all uneditable, but at least I can go into here and I can still edit that one specific range. So that's a really good way of getting your documents out to people. And if you protect them this way, they can only edit what you specifically want them to edit. So that has its own sort of uses there. So that works with protecting specific ranges in your worksheet. Now you did see I pressed the Protect Sheet button up here. If I unprotect this sheet again, which is up here, I got to put the password back in to unprotect it. This is why you've got to remember your password. It's very important. So up here, under the Protect Sheet button, you've seen how the Edit Ranges works with that. But under Protect Sheet, you can also format specific cells to only work that way. So for example, here, this column here, column G, this has got some formulas in it. You can see if I click on any one of these cells, up in the formula bar, you can see the formula. Now, sometimes you might want to have it set so that somebody can't see that formula if the formula uses any kind of confidential information or links to hidden cells, or, for whatever reason, you might not want people to see that particular formula. So what we can do, as an example here, if I highlight some of these, you can highlight the cells that you want to kind of restrict access to. And if you right-click them and use the Format Cells option, under the Format Cells option, you've got the usual thing you'd expect, where you can play around with the alignment, the font, the borders, the type of cell that it is. But at the very, very end of that, you've got the Protection button. And under Protection, you can specify if the cell is going to be locked or hidden or both. So all cells in Excel, when you first open a spreadsheet, are marked as locked. but they're not actually locked yet. They don't get locked properly until you hit that protect sheet button. So these cells here, if I leave them as locked, but also mark them as hidden, I can then click OK. And if I now protect this sheet, and again, you've got to put in a password to protect it, and then re-enter the password to confirm it. Now, if I click on those cells that have a formula, you can see that in the formula bar up here, there's nothing there. So the formula actually gets hidden. So it doesn't hide the content of the cell or the value that it shows, but it does hide the background of the cell, the inner workings of it there. So that's a nice way of, again, hiding the actual guts of Excel. And of course, because the cell is protected and all these cells are locked, if I try and change them, it won't let me. But these cells here are still password protected because they're part of that range. So you can really start to limit how people can access these kind of things, and you can specify exactly what people can see. Another way we can do this, if I unprotect this sheet again, so we can make it editable. So now we've got these cells here that they've got a hidden formula in them. We could also set it so that, for example, if we go to the module code here, for example, I highlight these ones, and again, format cells. If I uncheck locked and then go back to protect my sheet, what this will do, this will protect every sheet, every cell in that sheet that is locked, apart from those ones that aren't specified as being locked. So again, you've got to put the password in, you confirm it again. But this time around, all these other module code ones here, these ones are all locked because they were marked as locked. But the ones that I unchecked the lock button for, these can be changed. So again, you can specify specific cells that will remain editable even if the entirety of the rest of the sheet is locked out. So again, it lets you really kind of play with the access. So you could set up an entire spreadsheet, only have a certain range available, only have certain cells clickable, and hide your entire formulas. So you can really secure things in a little bit more of a precise way this way. So that's a good way of, sort of protecting your cells and your sheets. Under the File menu, under Info, we've also got the option to not just protect like that sheet, which is currently protected, but you can protect the entire workbook structure. So here, if we were to protect the entire workbook, that will work very similarly. You put a password in, but this time around, it'll stop you from adding new worksheets or moving sheets around or copying sheets or that sort of thing. So it doesn't just work on a sheet level, it works across the entire workbook. So if I was to protect the worksheet structure, again, usual thing, you've got to put in a password. You've got to reconfirm the password. And now we've protected the entire worksheet. So with this open, if I was to try and make a new sheet now, it doesn't let me do it. But if I unprotect it, I put in that password back in, now I can add new sheets. So it really does, you can work on a very, very small level, or you can go really big and protect the entire sheet itself. But this is all kind of useful in one respect, but this is all on an open Excel document. So sometimes you might want to send an Excel document to somebody and have them need a password in order to actually open it. So under that one, we can go to File, we can go to Info, we can go to Protect Workbook, and under here you've got the option to encrypt with password. So if we click on that one, you can now password protect the entirety of the document. And again, you've got to reconfirm it to make sure you've got the password correct. And the password is case sensitive as well. So whenever you give the password to somebody, make sure that they've got it correct in the correct case. Because again, if the password is forgotten or lost, you're not going to get back into that sheet. So now we've done that, I can come back up here, save that. And I want to save it because the file is read-only. So it'll ask us to save a copy. So I'll save as. I'll just put this in the my downloads folder for the moment. That'll do. So now if I try and reopen this file, it should prompt me for a password. There we go. So this is a protected file. You need a password to get into it. I put the password in. Again, if you remember before, I set this as a read-only document as well. So if I click on, yeah, and that makes it again, it's a read-only document. I can always change that. Now I've got permission, I can go back in and you can like unprotect things that way as well. So you can set up, quite heavy protections on a document. You can password protect it. You can password protect specific ranges, specific cells. So it does give you a lot of flexibility in terms of protecting everything. And finally, within Cardiff Met as well, we do have the option of using the restricted access options. So these are usually assigned at an organizational level, but under the restrict access option, you can see whatever usernames are in here, and you can specify what kind of level of access that person would need to have. So this is another way of specifying or seeing what access you actually have there. So I've waffled on a fair bit there about protections. So I'm just going to go ahead and open up everyone's microphones. And that way, if you do have any questions, we can go through there with my settings. There we go. Okay, there we go. Right, so did that actually save? No, it did not. There we go. Okay, so there we go. So your microphones and videos are all open again now. So before I do finish up the recording and end the meeting, is there anything you guys would like me to recap or go back over?
No, thank you. Everything was clear.
Yep. Brilliant. Okay, cool. Well, if you do have any questions, of course, feel free to drop us an email or drop us a line on Teams, and we'd be happy to help out as best we can. But yeah, otherwise, I'll go ahead and stop the recording now, and hopefully you found this to be of use. And hopefully we'll see you at some other Daily Digital webinars in the future. All right.
Thank you.
Cheers. Take care, guys. Bye now.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.